Are we paused?
I don't know. You look like you're paused. No?
Live decorations ready.
Please smell, Sharon.
Yeah, did you make us go live?
Yeah.
Okay. A live thing? Okay. Oh,
We are
wait,
live.
I didn't even know that we're going right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm calm, cool, collected these days. I don't panic when you're not in front of the screen immediately.
All right, we have to get you on there. Yeah. Yeah.
My hair's looking good, guys. saying.
Mary just got her hair done.
I did.
I just keep it short.
It
Just makes life easier. I don't pull it out.
today too.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I stopped shaving my head upon request. But beyond that.
Hello to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara, and you are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am in the studio today with one of my team members, Mary Baker. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good evening.
Yeah.
I'm wonderful.
You're having a really good hair day. So if you're on the radio, you can't see that. But if you want to watch us on Facebook, you can go to Facebook.
Brittany Roberts, you did a great job.
Yeah, Mary got her hair done today. And we're doing a continuation of our show from last week because it's such a great topic. And
There's
I
so
don't
many
know,
questions.
but we have somebody who's different here. We never thought that we would get him here, but he is here. So we have John Mitten from Pro Enviro, and we talked about you last week. Did I say Mitten all right?
Yes.
Okay. It's really not that difficult. I don't know why I just thought
It's Mitton.
Mitton. And you are one of the owners. We had Jake Turner last week with us, and he did a great job, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And Mary did talk about you a little bit and how you light up when you discuss mold.
Yeah. Who gets excited about that?
I know. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you and to IWATD listeners? Again, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. We have Larry Nelson, the one and only Larry Nelson, in WATD studio for us tonight, doing our programming. He's controlling the boards there. So if you have any questions and you want to get right through to us, you can certainly do that. The phone number at the studio, 781-837-4900. And you can watch us on Facebook too. So you can go to Sharon Costa McNamara, and we will soon be getting up all of the connect pages and everything too. So feel free to connect with us that way. But can you give us a little history of you and who you are, when you started all this, and
How you got into mold?
yeah.
Actually, how I got into mold is actually a very interesting story. I almost got scammed. So when my kids were young, I was doing home energy efficiency and things like that. And a doctor had told my wife to have our home tested for mold because my boys kept getting, respiratory issues, and our home was new. It was about 3 years old. And so we brought in a mold inspector, and he inspected and found mold in the attic. And then I called someone who I thought was a friend to help me remediate the attic, and gave me an obnoxious estimate that I thought I was going to get a free kitchen with my attic remediation. And I was actually getting recertified on an energy auditing program, and I stayed and got mold certified. I came home and tested it, and I didn't have mold. And at that point, it was like there was a need that someone had to go out and be honest with people and tell them what really is or really isn't going on.
Yeah.
And I was an independent inspector at the time. I was not involved with cleaning it, just testing.
Yeah.
One day, a gentleman came up, wanted to work with me. I wasn't hiring. He wrote a check and bought the company. And a couple of weeks later, I took over a company called Indoor Environmental and was doing mold inspection and remediation. And I ended up becoming the primary owner of that company. Ran that for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And then tried a couple of little transition things, and ended up moving through to a national level for a little while.
Yeah.
And just found out I'm better back in the field doing my thing, doing my inspections, teamed up with my old crew. Jake from last week is one of my partners. And we're pro Enviro now, and we're having fun.
Yeah. And it's great because I know Mary and I and Melissa, actually our team member, she isn't with us tonight because it's a short week. So she's up there getting all the agents,
all the
checks
books
paid, getting everybody paid. So that's more important right now. But we were talking last week, and for us to invite somebody onto our show, our listeners know that we're stamping our name on your shoulders. So when you go to a client, and we've been using you for years, John, and I mean, when you had your other company, and then when I had heard that you sold, that things had happened and you sold to a bigger national brand, and I was just like, because
who are we going to go to?
Yeah. And then Jake to the rescue. So it worked out well for us. And it's funny because we really enjoy working with you, but it's funny that I never took that next step to follow you to that other company, because sometimes when you get bigger, it's like the big white like the elephant that they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And the boutique, which is what we are at Boston Connect Real Estate, I feel like, we can pivot and we can make decisions based on what's necessary for the client right then and there.
Yeah, I think that was a huge decision to come back and get back small again.
Yeah.
Is that personal interaction. I love meeting homeowners. I love going in and solving problems. My favorite mold inspection is one where there's no mold.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot. People think the mold guy's going to show up. Oh my God, things are they're tearing my house apart. And it's a misnomer. I mean, it's not true. There are people who choose to do it that way. It's just not real. And so we're having a lot more fun. I'm seeing so many of my old friends in real estate and the home inspectors, and it's been great. And the team, I basically have the entire team I had before I left. They all stayed. So there's years. It's like a family. We're fun. We trust. I'll send my guys anywhere.
Yeah.
Our policy is if I can't send you to my house, I'm not sending them to yours.
Yeah.
It's just been a great experience.
And it is such, a little, when Jake was talking to us last week, and I think that one thing that a lot of people are surprised about is that, there are no regulatory guidelines for this through the state as we would have in lead paint.
Right.
So you really don't know who you're going to get, when you're going to get, and how much they're going to charge you. And I love the honesty, because there have been many a times that I've, sent out Jake now you guys, and you before, whether we were a buyer's agent or a seller's agent.
Right.
And this, it was always, no, you don't have mold. Like, you don't have to worry about it. So,
yeah, I mean, it's the wild, wild west, and it's like any industry. There are a lot of great people out there, and there are some people who are salesmen. And I think that's one of the differences that I've really worked hard on over the years is we're inspectors that happen to sell remediation if necessary. We're not salesmen who happen to inspect.
Yeah.
So, and there's a difference, and there's a lot of training that goes in, and the state is not licensed or regulated. We do have national guidelines and things like that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a little crazy.
Yeah. And that is the fact is, when you are sending out, when we send you out, and I love, my clients are like, well, he didn't, like, nothing came up and I feel bad. And, it's like, well, don't feel bad. It's, now this is what your job is next time you hear of somebody who might have mold, is you ask them to call Pro Enviro.
Right.
Did you hear my little sort of jingle last week?
I did.
Did you like it?
It was pretty good.
Do you want her to do it again?
The other one I got was if it smells old, call Johnny Mold. I'm not quite sure I'm up for that one yet either, but
yeah. So tonight I named it M, that other 4-letter word.
That's true.
So we have Jake Turner just joined us. We're running just a little bit behind, but we're so happy to have you.
You're probably doing an inspection or something. No, it's okay. You don't have to lie.
No, there was an accident, Route 3, like right by the Braintree split. So, hope everything's okay with those people.
People are traveling recklessly right now because of the holidays. I hit a major accident yesterday. I called Sharon and I was like, I can't get to where I'm going. You got to write this offer for me. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. And I wrote the offer. I remembered how to do it, just so everybody knows. Sharon knows how to write an offer.
You did it.
I did.
It was great.
I did. So Jake, we were just sort of catching up a little bit with John and the whole history that you have, but we might have some listeners this week on WATD or on our Facebook page that didn't have the pleasure of hearing you yesterday, or to our real estate replay last week, or the real estate replay on Saturday, or listen to our podcast. So can you tell everybody a little bit about you and your venture here?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my way here, I was listening. So
good.
Everything, make sure I was staying up to date on everything we're talking about tonight.
You didn't want to miss a beat.
No, I didn't want to miss
You wanted to
anything.
come
No,
right in.
No. And I think I would have been fine if I didn't. John was obviously doing a great job. So, but yeah, a little bit about me. So as John mentioned, I actually came from a former company, Indoor Environmental, that John had owned. I worked for John for many years, learned so many things in the industry for both inspections and remediation. And we just, the relationship that we've had throughout the years, I think it's like no other. John and I we click, we're almost the same person, and we can be at two places at once. I mean, that's just kind of how we operate. And, John's just great, and everything that he's done over the years, it's, he's a great mentor, and everything I have and I've learned is definitely credit to John. So.
Oh, you guys are like being Sharon. It's like being with me and Sharon.
This is it's sort of like the same story, just a different industry.
Is.
I know.
But before you got here, you probably heard John was like, "It's my guys are like my family," and I just love that. I think that's amazing, and that's probably why we seem to be so symbiotic and we kind of meld together really well, is because that's how we operate, and we can see that in you guys.
Well, for us in our industry, it is so important to have trust amongst your team.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we work in very easy environments. Sometimes, especially in the summer, we work in very, very uncomfortable and dangerous.
We heard about the attic.
Our crew chiefs, the guys who run the jobs, whether it's Tony or Jarrett or John Emery, they have to know how to make sure everybody else is safe.
Yeah.
Like this summer, my boys joined the crew and worked, and they're young. And I know they're safe because I trust the guys that are running the crew. And that's huge, because you have to know that you're working in a safe environment. I mean, they wear full safety gear, full masks. You crawl into an attic that's 115, 120 degrees. It can be dangerous. So trust is huge.
And that you'll put your own kids in there. And that's what I love too. It's like that whole family. My children had wanted nothing to do with real estate, but I maybe didn't make it look as glamorous as mold.
I didn't give them the option. I said, you got a job this summer and here's what it is.
And you'll be going into the attic. Jake's sending you right there into
That's
attic.
the first job.
Right.
So Mary, want to give everybody maybe just a little recap of the conversations that we were having last week. And I know that there were other ones that we wanted to sort of hit upon this week too.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, I think we started by talking about a very brief overview of what mold is.
Yeah.
And actually one of our clients was listening to the show and they were like, "Mary, mold like blue cheese mold? Is that what you really said on the radio?" Yes, because that's what people think.
Right.
Like it's either black mold or blue cheese mold. I feel like the normal everyday person doesn't know that there's a million in between or hundreds of thousands of in between, and not all molds are
created equal
or as dangerous as others. I think no mold is really great mold unless it's cheese.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, don't give up cheese.
Unless it's cheese. So we talked a little bit about that, and then we started to get into different causes of mold and different remediations and what goes into that. So I think one of the last things that we had touched upon was homeowners kind of doing the quick fix of bleach on mold.
Oh, my favorite.
And earlier you had said, you had somebody come into your own house and they had given you an astronomical quote. So something that occurred to me was, how would you guys maybe even recommend that a homeowner start talking to a mold professional? Because like, obviously if they called us, we're going to refer you, but most people are just going to go on and Google and say mold. And there's certain companies that are going to come up that might be not as honest. So maybe having multiple people come through and give you an opinion.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is to make sure what you're being told makes sense.
Yeah.
And, we can't take away our own intelligence and our own common sense. The home, for lack of a better way of saying it, is a living, breathing structure.
Yeah.
So where does the airflow go? What caused the mold? If it's mold, where did the moisture come from? Because it's three things. It's temperature, food, which is the structure, and moisture. So
Okay.
if so, uh, I've taught on this subject many, many times. And one of the examples I use is if your sink's leaking and you call the plumber, he comes and he fixes the faucet and he says, hey, I'll check the drain. That makes sense. If he says I have to check every toilet in the house, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with my sink.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You can apply the same concepts with any type of inspection. Okay, there's mold in the attic. Well, where did it come from? Well, my ventilation's blocked, or this, and there's a lot of different sources. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, my basement's too humid, so I have mold in my attic. Doesn't really add up.
Mhm.
It can under very certain circumstances, but that takes a lot of investigation. Getting multiple opinions. You have to trust who's coming into your home, not only what they are identifying, but what they're recommending. Does it make sense? You have to live with it. I don't. So when I come to a home and I make a recommendation, it's the same recommendation I would make if it were my house,
Mhm.
Or Jake's house or his parents' house or whoever's. So it's really important that it makes sense and safe,
Yeah.
because I don't live there. So you can work with me if you like what I'm going to do, or work with somebody else if it makes more sense to you.
Yeah.
But make sure it makes sense. And it's a very simplified concept, but people can really tell, hey, I'm just being sold, or hey, this makes a lot of sense. I'll go with this approach.
Well, I feel like there's been multiple times where Sharon and I have just gone on market analysis, and we have been around enough, and especially Sharon, she's very, very good at spotting signs or conditions that mold would probably thrive in. And she always, the second we say it, the seller's always like, no, that's gonna cost me so much, and yada, yada, yada. And we're like, you'd better to kind of get ahead of it now,
Yep.
before we get on market, and then it becomes a snowball and they want to bring in their own mold inspector, and maybe that person is going to give you a crazy quote.
Yeah, it's very important. The sooner we can get involved,
Yeah.
if there's a concern, it doesn't mean there's an issue. If there's not an issue, you get that peace of mind going into the process that there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
I would say almost 50%. I did 6 today, and 3, there was nothing.
I
And
love
2
when
were
you guys go
pre-listed.
in and say that there's nothing, because it just makes us look good. I know, it makes us look good. Be like, hey, see, I told you he's not going to try and sell you. I
So-
told you could trust him.
Tell us a little bit about the 6 that you went today. Like, so what prompted the homeowner to contact you? Like, what was the evidence that they saw that they thought maybe they had mold?
Well, I had 2 people who weren't feeling well in their home and had
Uh-huh.
musty smells in their basement. So
Yeah.
we did those. One basement I actually treated. It was minor, but it just had a little bit and it was of concern. I had 2 that were pre-listing, where the realtor or the selling agent had gone in, had seen a concern. One was in an attic, one was in 2 bathrooms. And we checked those out and found out what was or wasn't going on. And that's really, really common. And then one was a home inspector who called me from the home inspection and found mold. And I showed up. The selling agent was shocked that I showed up, but I knew her.
Yeah.
And she's like, John, I'm like, yeah, hey. She looked at the home inspector. You found something? Yeah. And I got him to come. And we went up, and the attic had been remediated back in July. And there was furry
Okay.
growth up there.
Oh, yeah.
And it, and at that point I was like, you're not hiring me. You're going back to the person who did the work, and
Yeah.
they should honor their work. And that's the right approach, as opposed to going in and saying, oh, no, there's mold. Here's what it's going to take. People have to have the opportunity. We're all human.
Yeah.
Something can come back.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often, hopefully, but got to make it right.
And what would cause something from coming back? Like, did you see a situation where maybe the vent from the bathroom wasn't repaired, or the circulation just wasn't right? I mean, it had to come back.
This
something.
one, it looked like it was 3/4 of the way done on the
Uh-huh.
work,
Oh,
and there was something missed. The most important thing for anybody, whether you work with Pro Enviro, Jake and I, or our crew, or another company, is if you're going to pay someone to remediate any situation, it should, and in my opinion, must be lab tested at the end. We test out all of our jobs as our quality control to make sure, because at the end of the day, essentially, if I come in and clean mold in your home, or Jake's there, or the guys, we're saying we made it safe.
Mhm.
And that's really dangerous if you're not willing to take a test at the end. That's kind of like going to the doctor. He says, oh, I think you have cancer. I'm going to treat you for cancer. And then he doesn't test to make sure it's gone.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, not as scary by any means,
Mhm.
but the concept is still
Yeah.
the same. So testing is so important. And we do a lot of testing where we weren't the remediator, but we were hired to come in and do third-party testing.
Mhm.
We use a third-party lab. So we take the samples to save our clients money. It's
Mhm.
built into our jobs, but we use a lab down in New Jersey that does the analysis.
Mhm.
And that's so important for any buyer or seller. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
it's like quality
inexpensive.
control.
Correct.
Mhm.
That's
You know,
why
how
we
can,
do
how
it.
can you improve upon what you're doing if you don't know what the results of it?
Right. And
anything is?
if you miss something,
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
That's-
absolutely.
and test again.
And two, I just think at the end, it's, that's the comfort of, let's face it, a lot of times you're seeing it in the attic, and let's talk about colonials and capes, that's right above your bedrooms, so.
Yep.
I actually just remembered, I went upstairs just because I was like, remember last week, I wanted to ask Jake that, like, let's not forget to talk about this. And we don't know where we wrote it. I just remembered. So
So you're gonna leave.
no.
I was like, what are you setting me up for here?
No, I'm not going to leave. But one of the things I was thinking about is, how is mold traveling? Like these spores, they're just like sort of traveling all over. I mean, a lot of people maybe don't go into their attic, so then it's like, whoop, like, look how this happened. So how fast do they grow? Do molds grow at different rates? And then don't let me forget to talk about air ducts and HVAC. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Mold growth rate. This is one of the most misunderstood things.
Mhm.
Yes, mold can grow in as little as 24 hours. Does that happen in people's homes? No,
Mhm.
not unless it's the middle of July, 100% humidity, they're gone, it's 100 degrees, and it's like the perfect storm.
Mhm.
You can actually age water events and things by the type of molds that grow.
Oh.
The really, really toxic black mold that everybody's afraid of is called Stachybotrys. It takes almost a year
That was sexy.
for that mold. You'll love K-tomium.
I know. Love all these big words.
But aspergillus and penicillium are the most common in the toxic class that we find around here. And when people refer to toxic with mold, it really means allergen.
Yeah.
It's respiratory. So things happen at very different levels as mold growth. As far as traveling, they're so small. As Jake was talking about last week, we generally say a mold spore is about the size of a red blood cell.
Mhm.
So our homes breathe. They function like a chimney. It's called stack effect. So air comes in at the bottom, carries up through all the way out. So if there's mold spores, they can carry up. Can an attic come back down into the home? Yes. Because especially in the summer, when the attic gets really, really hot, the home is cooler, hot goes to cold.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, heat rises, but you can still get those spores coming down in. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to be a mold issue. It doesn't mean it's going to be a health issue. It's potential is the key word. I'm not a doctor. We don't play one on TV.
Mhm.
It's
Or on the
just,
radio.
or on the radio, or on Facebook,
Yeah.
wherever we are right now.
Yeah.
You brought up colonials. Colonials, oh my God, Jake, half
Yeah.
of the
probably.
jobs we do. And, the one thing that people forget is I hear the word code all the time. Oh, it's built to code. It's built to code.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Building code does not reflect mold prevention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you could build a home to code and still create mold.
Mhm.
And colonials are notorious because the pull down ladder
Okay.
is the biggest hole in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Mass Save, if you ever had a Mass Save audit, they always build that box to cover that because
Yeah.
they're very well aware. And builders like to put that in the hallway right outside the bathroom.
Yeah.
I get it. No one wants a pull down ladder in the bathroom. Well, the bathroom is the biggest moisture source in the
Mm.
house.
Mhm.
If your kids take 25-minute showers like mine do, that's a steam bath. They
Mhm.
open the door and all that warm, humid air goes right up into the attic.
That makes so
It's a
much
very
sense.
It really
simple
does.
cause.
Mhm.
And
I'm thinking about where my attic and where my master bath is right now.
That's where mine is
and
right.
these are just simple things that you don't think about or you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And I must say it 50 times a week, if not 100. Use the bathroom exhaust fan. Bathroom exhaust fans are designed to be on during water, plus a minimum of 10 minutes after the water's turned off, with the bathroom door closed at all times. If you open the door, the fan is useless.
I learned that from you. It was actually the first inspection that I saw you at since coming back to Pro Enviro. And I was so excited. Remember, I like ran up to you. I was like, John, you're here. When did you come here? But you said that during that inspection when you were looking around. And now I literally have that. I repeat that in my head every day when I take a shower.
Mhm.
And never fails that I open that door. It never fails.
Yeah, because I mean, standing in your bathroom for 10 minutes after you're out is a long time.
Well, you can leave the bathroom, just close the door behind
Oh,
you.
okay.
But the
You
problem
said
is,
don't open the door. I'm very literal.
okay.
Black,
In-
white.
Open up the window, jump out, and walk around the front door.
In fairness, you don't have to stand there like a prisoner. But
Like,
close
I
the
can only
door.
brush my teeth for so long.
The fan, they're all low CFM. So while the water's running, they're drying the air. But the additional time is drying the walls and the ceilings and drying the grout. It helps stops those moisture drips you get in the
Yeah,
paint
those all the
and
time.
stops mildew.
Yeah.
And every time someone calls and says, I got mold in the bathroom, and you walk up and they're like, is it a leak coming through the ceiling? It's like, no, you didn't turn your fan on.
Mhm.
Oh, my kids don't like the fan. It's too loud. Okay, well, then
Yeah.
you're gonna have mold.
Well, and then, I mean, they're newer fans now that they,
It's super quiet.
Whisper quiet.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't
I know.
even hear them.
And the best thing is put it on a timer.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we have a weird psychosis as humans. No one wants the light to go out while they're in the shower. So
Oh,
if you link the light to the fan and put it on a timer, it's always going to be on long enough.
okay, that makes
That's
sense.
a good point.
Mhm.
I'll
Uh,
keep these for my bathroom rental.
I know.
These tips.
I got lots of ideas.
You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable here on WATD, and we would love to hear any of your questions. We have Pro Enviro with us. We're talking about that other dirty 4-letter word, mold.
I like that one.
You don't, yeah, when you hear the 4-letter word mold, you don't have to say the other 4-letter word or something. I don't know. Last week I was feeling silly, but we have Jake Turner with us as well as John Mitten. And again, they are the partners in crime when it comes to mold. And I really can't say enough about, you know, this team, this company, these people, everybody out there who's listening. You know, I'm talking to my friends on Facebook, and I'm talking to all my friends and family out there on WATD. You know what? These are good guys that are going to take care of you. So I give you permission to call them. And if somebody wanted to call, Jake, I'm going to give you the pleasure. We're going to give
Absolutely.
that phone number out first
Sure,
tonight.
Of course. So the number you guys can reach us at is 888-550-MOLD
Okay.
or 6653.
All right, do it one more time.
888-550-MOLD.
Okay, perfect. So we'll make sure that we say that a couple more times throughout
Yes.
the night tonight. Again, if you want to ask us a question, call the studio. Larry is in the studio. Larry, you still with us there?
No, you're learning about mold.
Don't you find this interesting? Larry generally finds the conversations. You know, my sinuses are clogged. The phone number at the studio for Larry to get you to us is 781-837-4900. We would love to hear from you tonight. And you know what? This time of year, it's all about being grateful. And I truly am grateful for you guys. You guys do such a good job, and you always take care of our clients. Like, it just, I don't know, it
You're
just makes,
such a mush.
I know, it just makes me feel good though.
I know.
Doesn't
I know
it?
it does. I know. it does.
Yeah, I just, you know, I hate to send somebody and then somebody gets like taken advantage of.
We would never refer anybody
No,
that does that.
No, I know we wouldn't. Maybe once, and that would be the end of that. All right, so let's talk more about mold. Let's talk about the way that it's traveling and everything. And last week, you know, with people with allergies, I don't know, like when there's, you know, cats, and people have people allergic to cats, and then there's HVAC, and they're always worried about like cat
The
hair being
ductwork.
stuck in the ductwork. What about when mold gets in there? Like, how do you get that out? Because isn't the HVAC stuff like sort of tinfoily? Like, won't it rip?
Well, flex duct is generally a insulated plastic helix on the inside, and then you got sheet metal ducting. But why don't you? I talk too much anyway.
Sure, no, that's fine.
Shocker.
Yeah, he's really shy, Jake. That's what you said last week. No?
I mean, we get this pretty often as well too. And I think there's a pretty big misconception with mold and ductwork.
Okay.
So as John just mentioned, a lot of the time it's actually metal lined inside, and
Mhm.
typically mold won't grow on metal itself.
Oh,
That's good.
However, if you have a lot of dust in your ductwork,
yeah.
mold can grow
On the
on the
dust.
dust,
On the
and then giving the
dust.
illusion that there's mold in your ductwork. So not saying that they shouldn't be treated, but it's not quite as black and white as people think that it is.
So clean your ductwork.
Still clean your ductwork, sure, but
And you won't get mold. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe, yeah.
I can't guarantee that, but it's definitely, it's one of the preventatives in your home and creating good air quality,
Mhm.
especially if you're running air through those systems and it's going into your home. Always want to make sure they're clean anyways, not just from a mold standpoint, but just as a allergen standpoint in general, like a pet dander or dust
Mhm.
mites and just other VOCs that can get trapped in there and,
Mm.
pump it out through the houses. You don't really want that.
No, I don't want any of that, by the way. And you know what? We had our floors redone over the summer. That was fun. And took all of our furniture out of the house into the garage. And I just happened to be sitting in the recliner the other day, and I don't sit in the recliner that often. And I pushed it back and I'm like looking up at the ceiling and I was like, oh, wow, like there's all dust in them. Like I can see
Oh,
it on
in
the
the
outside. Yeah.
ductwork?
So it must be, even though they say it's dustless, so I know I have to get that.
Nothing is
taken
ever
care of.
purely dustless.
Well, the important thing to remember is if you have a forced air system, it's taking air from the home, heating it and blowing it back into the home.
Yeah.
So whatever's in there probably came from the house. It didn't start it's not like the ductwork miraculously created dust or something.
Yeah.
And changing the filter, general HVAC, I'm not an HVAC guy, but
Mhm.
At least every 3 to 6 months of use
Yeah.
and get a good filter. Make sure you don't get one that's too thick that your
Mhm.
HVAC can't handle it. But you want good filtration. I mean, this is the air you breathe. The concept is your home is the safe place for you to recover respiratory specifically from things you can't control outside. We can't control car exhaust. We can't control walking down the street. But in our house is where we get clean air and we recover. And that's why if you've got allergy symptoms at this time of year or in January or February inside your house, you may want to have it checked. It may be nothing. It could be dry air. It could be a variety of things. But this is where outside's really clean.
Yeah.
So if you're still having it when you've closed up, that's a concern.
Well, and that was my concern, Jake, with my daughter, Casey, and her fiance, Dustin, is that it was weird. They got the water in the house and everything, but it was before it was like, once they closed up the doors and the windows, like when the fall came and everything, they both got really sick too.
Yep.
And when I went into the house, immediately I was like, but what I smelled more like irony or something when I first went in there. It was like this weird smell. And I was just like, Casey, something just ain't right here. And then the next week I brought her the dehumidifier. It was working around the clock. And then the next week she got the water. I still wonder what's underneath that.
Which we might be finding out at some point.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird incident, how there was so much water and then we had all that rain, that storm, and there was nothing. There was nothing there. So I think it was there was a few different water intrusions coming in from, I think the issue was the downspout was aimed right into the mulch bed, which was coming right back into the foundation. Note too, it's also an older building, so naturally it's going to have gaps and cracks and water's going to find its way in. So I think it was coming from a few different areas. And
it's interesting too, because, I know that we're a South Shore show for the most part, South Coast and everything, but you guys go all over. So Casey lives in the South End in Boston and you were like out there right away. And then we had that major storm, but this is sort of a side note and no one on the radio probably cares about this, but I'm going to tell you. So the water that was in the back with where the washer dryer was, when they came to investigate that, I guess in the front of the house, there's like the grass and there was some trees, like little bushes there, right? When you walked in under her door to the right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Just a little area, right? Little garden area. It was not really a garden, but so when the maintenance guy came, he said what was happening is that that's where all the coal chutes were for the 3 families.
Yep.
And it wasn't sealed properly. So so much water had come in that the water was going through that. And for him to seal it, he has to go in through the inside and go up to seal it.
Why can't you seal it from the outside?
Because it's dirt covering it?
Yeah, a lot of times those old chutes and a lot of things need to be handled from the inside to make sure it's a proper barrier.
Oh, okay.
Because from the outside, you can't necessarily see if there's still a penetration or things like that. It's
So you're
very,
looking
very
for
common.
like daylight.
You got it.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of different ways to test. So
yeah.
All right. I'm not shimmying up a coal chute.
Yeah. Well, you know what I was thinking? I was like, wow, those are all over Boston. I bet you we could just knock on some doors and say, we're looking for the pictures from the museum. they're stuck in a coal chute somewhere. For sure. Okay. We have no callers tonight. Weirdly, we have Larry there that will definitely get you through. So 781-837-4900. If you have any questions for us, I'm being a little fresh tonight, but
Rightfully so, though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's warranted.
Mhm.
One thing, so we had talked about the other day, like bleach is a definite no. That is a no. Do not do self-remediation with some bleach, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
Is there any times that you guys would be recommending that homeowners could try and remediate or do anything on their own? Or is it just, nope, have us in, let us tell you what you need to do?
You want to take that
Sure.
one?
Yes. and
That's a
no.
loaded question.
No,
I'm sorry.
is.
It is.
No, it's fine. Again, another great question. We got quite a bit, and obviously during our inspections, John and I, we always go in and, the homeowner, or can we do it ourselves, or how bad is it? And generally, rule of thumb, well, not even necessarily, depending on the area and how much mold there is. Generally, anything about less than 10 total square feet of mold generally can be handled by the homeowner, but we always kind of put it as, if you're comfortable doing it yourself, and we also want to make sure you're doing it the right way.
Yeah, you're using the right stuff.
Using the right stuff. And sometimes we'll even walk, and again, talking a really minor area.
Yeah.
Is, hey, you want this, and this, and make sure you're using, proper PPE, you're using the right products. You're ventilating the space well, you're making sure that you're not creating a bigger issue outside of that space that you're trying to remove the mold. But no, that goes hand in hand with just our inspections. And we mentioned earlier, we can walk into 50% of our inspections and there'll be no mold. And even some of those that do have a little bit of mold, we can sometimes just make a recommendation of, hey, this isn't too bad based on what we can see here. If you're comfortable doing it yourself, here's how to do it. If not, we're happy to do it for you. And that's generally how it goes. But typically the average mold in the attic, mold in the basement stuff, we typically recommend professional remediation for that.
Absolutely. I'd hire a professional no matter what.
Well,
I would
there
I'd be
are
scared I'd screw it up.
there are small things though, and there are small areas. And especially if it came off a one-off event, like
Yeah.
they had a little leak and it requires just removing a small section of drywall and a little basic over-the-counter products that you can buy at the store, as long as you follow the directions properly. Yeah, absolutely. But you want to be really careful with the size and scope. Like, I remember one job I went, and the guy brought us in. He goes, yeah, they said I have moldmatic. I don't think so. I went up and it smelled like an indoor swimming pool. And out back were 37 bottles of concentrated Clorox behind the garage. And I'm like, yeah,
You might want to step outside, sir.
and let me clarify the bleach comment. Okay. Bleach is normally people buy it, it's concentrated,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be diluted. Almost no one dilutes it. So you can burn your lungs with bleach exposure and you don't recover from that. That's A. B, without going sciencey, I'm going to try to avoid sciencey words. Bleach is what they call a 1-to-1 reaction. So 1 part bleach comes in contact with 1 part mold and its energy is gone. So the byproduct of bleach, though, is 95% water.
Mhm.
So with mold, it kills 1 spore and then it gives it water. And so the byproduct, because it loses its energy so fast. So if you've ever cleaned what people call mildew in their bathroom, and we don't argue that, it's not worth it. You clean it with bleach and then
That's
next
a whole other show.
mildew grows only outside on plants. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We need to talk about that. Okay. keep
We'll
on
go-
talking
we'll go
what you're
back,
talking
but-
about, yeah.
if you've cleaned,
Pretty far there.
Would you mind filling in for us
Yeah.
next week?
because I'm so shy. So if you've ever cleaned some mildew in your bathroom with bleach and then next month you clean mildew in your bathroom with bleach, and then next month it's actually the same stuff coming back again and again and again, because you've just cleaned the surface, you haven't killed the roots,
Gotcha.
and you're actually feeding it a little bit, so it kind of comes back a little stronger and a little stronger.
So let's talk about this then. I mean, you go into, the store and there's a line of, all these products with bleach in it to clean your grout and everything else. I
Mildew.
mean, what's the best way to clean your shower? I mean, because, it will turn black. Like sometimes you'll see,
Yeah.
like, why does that happen?
Well, it's the mold type is actually the black
Yeah.
that you're seeing. It's usually basidiospores, which is the same stuff breaking down the leaves in the mulch outside.
Uh-huh.
It's very ambient. You're not allergic to it and living on Earth, at
Yeah.
least unless you're extraordinarily rare. Never met
Bubble
that
boy.
person.
Yeah.
General cleaning in your bathroom is exactly that. Remember, bleach is a lightening product. It to lighten color. That's all it is. It's truly,
Ah, so
think
it's
of it,
faking you out.
it's like a stain remover and it looks great. But it isn't doing what you think it is. Now, if you
Gotcha.
use it in conjunction with something that is designed to kill mold, like there are some products like mold control and concrobium, and they're over the counter for small little stuff. Use it.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't need a professional. Half the time we go to a bathroom job, more like it's not worth what it costs me to send my guys because
Yeah.
we have safety and we have
Yeah.
certain things we
Yeah.
have to do when we do a job. And a little do it yourself is fine. You just have to be aware it's not going to go away permanently unless you solve the source. And that's one of the keys where I won't do a mold remediation, or Jake and I won't quote one if we can't solve it.
Mhm.
What caused it needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to correct it, there's no point in paying us to clean it so it can come right back.
Comes right
Even
back.
just to sell a house,
Mhm.
it may sound like a great idea, but it's not really a good idea.
100%.
And I actually sort of remember this earlier in my career too, is that somebody was, they got like 2 different estimates from a mold person. And like, I remember my client saying, well, I'm just going to do the cheaper one because I'm moving. And I was like, well, that's not really the right thing to do. Right. You know what else I was thinking about though, is we're talking about cleaning bathrooms. There's all these other devices that are out there now too, with like the steam. But now that I think about it, if you put steam on mold, right? You right? I catch
Let's see,
on.
heat water. Ooh, this is gonna be good.
I know. I did listen to you said that last week, right?
Yeah.
Jake said that last week, and yeah, now it doesn't make sense at all.
No.
We could have just put Bissell out of business. So
Every tool has its place.
Yeah.
It's just has to be the right application for the right thing, and that's important. And read the bottle. It's
yeah.
amazing how many people do not read the bottles of what they spray.
Mhm.
It's like you did that without a respirator or a mask or
yeah.
anything. It's like, you get scared.
Oh,
I get
no.
scared for people.
Why don't you tell us one of the what?
Finish your sentence, because that's what my question.
Go ahead, you ask it then.
What one of the worst cases you've ever seen?
Yeah.
I was literally thinking
Yeah.
the same thing. I was like, I
Maybe
want to
just
know.
picked
I
that
want
up. Yeah.
I want to know the deep and the dark and the scary.
I'll definitely defer to John for this because I'm sure
He's
being in it
seen-
for a
he's
while,
seen worse.
He's seen probably a lot worse than I have.
Mhm.
But
Like, has there ever been a job that you've walked in and been like,
I had a
I
job
don't
once
think
where
so.
I gave a quote because the bank required a quote. And I said, if you're willing to pay me it, I'm going to double it until you don't want to hire me.
Oh, really?
Let's see, a little over 10,000 home visits in my career. I've had 4 houses ever that it wasn't worth it. They needed a fire and were too wet to burn.
Mhm.
I remember one specifically where the home was vacant. It was an estate house and the kids who were fighting over the estate thought it'd be a really good idea to leave the windows open 3 inches all the way around so the home could breathe. A tree had grown through the garage door.
Oh.
Another tree had grown through the foundation, and you could put your hands through the walls to the point. And what was really funny was I opened the door and I closed the door. And when I closed the door, I went and got a full Tyvek suit, full safety gear. And the real estate agent with me, God bless her, she tried to walk in right behind me. And I'm like, you see how I'm dressed?
Yeah.
It was that bad. There are some really nasty homes out there,
Yeah.
but it's not every house.
There was definitely a time though when we were going through all that foreclosure stuff and the banks were saying that they were winterizing and they were just pouring, some blue stuff in the toilet to make it look like they put antifreeze and they weren't. And I remember going into one house and I'm telling you from the ground all the way to the cathedral ceiling, the walls were black.
Oh yeah.
Just black, like the whole house. And I just was like, I couldn't believe that it was like that. So, so we only have 4 minutes left, if you can imagine that, really just 3 minutes. So I want to make sure that we take a little more time for you guys to give out your information and your website and all that good stuff. If you wouldn't mind doing that.
sure. So best number to reach us at is 888-550-MOLD or our website proenvirollc.com. You can find us on Facebook as well. And you can get in touch with us either right online. You can actually fill out a direct web form. And John and I actually both get a notification if somebody wants an inspection. So yeah, we're working on some new stuff like that to get a little bit more,
Yeah, well, I mean, I text you and you just respond.
So
So
yeah, that works for people who have our number. That's more than okay. We still
Yeah.
like that. But for people who haven't used us or
Yeah.
you know, a
Just getting
homeowner
started.
just getting started,
Yeah.
you know, again, right on our website, you can actually fill out a web form and John and I
Mhm.
both get that notification, or call us, email us, you know, whatever's easiest.
Perfect.
And
And
it's
again,
amazing.
yeah, to our WATD listeners and our Facebook friends, this was Pro Enviro that was with us tonight on Talk Real Estate Roundtable. You can find more information on bostonconnect.com. We'll be sure to put the radio show up so you can hear it. If you want to listen again, you can hear it at the replay on Saturday, the real estate replay, 12:15. You can listen to that again. And we only have a couple more minutes left. But again, that phone number for Pro Enviro, again, did I say Jake Turner and John Mitten? Because if I didn't,
Yes.
these are my guys that are all mold.
These
They're
are my
not
mold
moldy.
guys.
These are my mold guys. You got a guy, we got a guy. Give the phone number one more time.
Sure. 888-550-MOLD.
Perfect. And you can always, like I said, get in touch with me and Mary, and we're happy to connect you. Final thoughts for the
Yeah.
final seconds. What's your biggest tip?
Mold tip.
Mold tip.
Mold tip. If you see anything that's weird, call us.
Mhm.
Only if it's just mold though. I mean, this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things out there, Jake.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got to specify more on that, but no, I mean, if there's ever just a general concern, you don't necessarily have to have a you know, plain mold issue going on. If there's any question, call us out. We're happy to come out. We actually, most of our inspections, I forgot to mention this earlier, is that a lot of our visual inspections are complimentary too. So if you
Perfect.
call
That's
us, we can come
huge.
out. We're not going to charge you to do so. If we have to do some testing, yeah, there's might be a charge for that. But as far as the everyday, if you just want an opinion, find out what's going on, call us.
That's awesome. Well, thank
Perfect.
you again to our guys, and
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yes,
Sure.
and we
Yeah.
hope that
Again.
you'll come maybe next year too.
All right.
All
Sounds good.
right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Larry.
I got to squeak. I got to squeak.
Go figure. No callers tonight, but that's okay.
So, all right.
I know
Why?
it's,
Because you need me to talk more?
I love that we were thinking the exact same thing. I was like, I want to
I just want to
know
get that thing
what
off.
the absolute horror stories are. But I also am thinking about like, should I just preventatively have you guys come to my house?
Oh, yeah, we should ask that question too.
Yeah, ooh, we should do, you know how, remember one year you did with Steve Cook,
Yeah.
the radon test? Should we do like Facebook Live and have you
Christine
guys?
James, these mold guys are good. I thought your husband was a good guest too. Thank you.
I don't, well, why do I have no?
Your hair sounds great.
Turn it
Christine
off.
James. You have to put it on and off, yeah, because it will go,
Goes to sleep?
yeah.
Yeah, so we should do Facebook Live. You guys come and inspect our houses for mold.
Whatever you need.
I should probably get that vermiculite insulation out of my attic.
Oh, yeah, what do you do when you run into other hazards? Like if you're in, you
One's
know what I
gotta be
mean?
taken care of before the
Vermiculite,
other.
vermiculite, I will not